Okay, thanks everyone for joining us for our webinar today on this beautiful day in Southern California and in Florida. I hope everywhere else it's beautiful as well. This is our bi-monthly series, Cybersecurity Best Practices, and today we'll be talking about building a cyber resilient K-12 school district or any school district really through the power of security awareness training. And I'm with Securus 360, and I know some of you have attended several of our webinars in the past, but today we are co-hosting this with our good partner CYBEREADY. And CYBEREADY is a leader in the security awareness training and phishing simulation space. And we're excited to cooperate on this today. Quick introductions. My name is Daniel Eickhoff. I'm with Securus 360. I'm one of the K-12 cybersecurity specialists here. And I've been in the cybersecurity industry for 9 years now, I guess. And I love working with school districts. What we do here at Securus 360, we're laser focused on the education space. And we take the stress out of cybersecurity protection, out of protecting the school district's network by monitoring for and then detecting and eliminating threats and attacks before they can do damage. Quick housekeeping note, at the end of the event, we'll do a Q&A, so feel free to use the little Q&A feature to submit your questions, and at the end, we'll get to as many as we can. All right. Looking forward to this event. Demi, do you want to do a quick introduction of yourself?
Yeah, of course, Daniel. Yeah.
All right.
I figured it a second ago. Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm so glad to meet every single one of you guys today and kind of talk through where security awareness training is going, where it's been, and where really that intersection between innovation and disruption goes. I've been in the industry for about 9 years. I've done everything from XDR to Gartner to other security awareness training vendors. And so definitely have a plethora of knowledge here, and I would love to share it with all of you guys. I'll pass it back over to you, Daniel.
Thanks, Demi. And before we dive into Demi's presentation and her demo of her platform, let's take a real quick look at the K-12 space and what's going on there, because the space is under attack. And that sounds dramatic, but unfortunately, it is true. And here's our web team and our SOC team got together and created this little visualization here. This is an interactive web page on our website. You can click those little alert symbols, and it gives you details to all of these attacks across the countries. And these are only on school districts, and just recently, and only the ones we are tracking. So I'm sure there's many more out there. But check that out. And yeah, hackers are after children's data. School districts have a lot of that sensitive data, which makes them prime targets for attacks. But once the data gets out, it's devastating for the families. Ransomware attacks are the #1 type of attack. It costs the average school district $4 million to dig out from a ransomware attack. And an average school district is 4 or 5 or 6 schools. So if you have 10 or 20 schools, it gets much more real fast. And attacks are getting more frequent, more complex every day. Even large districts like LA Unified, last year, almost exactly a year ago, they were breached and it was a huge fallout. Minneapolis Public Schools is a good example. Large school district, a ton of sensitive student records got leaked. Not good. The community was quite upset. Denver Public Schools is an example for that incident happened in January or even late December last year, right? So 9 months ago, we're still finding out the extent of the damage and how much data was leaked. And you know, this is because understandably, you have the communications departments or legal departments of school districts or any organization for that matter in the commercial private side the same. they only release as much information about their incident as they have to, and for security reason, that's probably advisable. But the flip side is the bad guys, the ransomware gangs, get frustrated because they lose leverage if the school doesn't release what's going on. So they started communicating to the parents and the students directly, not relying on the school or their victim anymore to talk about the incident. So what they did is, in this case, with Bluefield University, they hijacked their emergency alert system, which allowed them to communicate with students and parents through that system, through text and emails. And at other schools, they simply stole the email addresses of the students and parents, and they emailed them directly from there. So it's getting really ugly. And it's a broad issue. Depending on the data, there's different studies and different sets of data out there, but they all indicate that the education industry is now the #1 target for cyber attacks. And there's another example of data: K through 12, #1; higher education, close on its heels. So definitely, we got to do something. The schools are under pressure, and the problem is, however, that the schools, they are facing a number of challenges, and then that's because of limited budgets and resources, but and other things. For example, the digital footprint at school districts just exploded in the last few years, and the attack surface is growing, which means, of course, that it requires automated and integrated solutions to properly protect an organization like this. But most school districts don't have those. So what we see with the folks we talk to, they have a firewall and Microsoft Defender AV, and that's just not enough. And then another thing is with the decreased visibility. So they have remote and cloud environments, tens of thousands of student devices sometimes. They just can't maintain visibility across their entire network anymore. And they're trying to do that with teams that are already maxed out, just managing their IT and help desk responsibilities. And all of that in the face of attacks getting more frequent, more sophisticated. It's just hard for the IT teams at school districts to stay on top of that. It's impossible. And COSIN, the consortium for school networking, sorry there, they did a study and they come to very similar conclusions. So what they are saying is, so for folks like you on the call, CTOs, tech directors, cybersecurity is the #1 concern. And a third of the districts don't have the resources to deal with cybersecurity issues, and 2/3 don't have cybersecurity experts on site. But that's where we come in. So we can help. So what we do for these school districts, we have a managed extended detection response platform, MDR, MXDR. So that means we cover your entire network, right? So we do services like monitoring all of your devices, 24/7, 365 SOC team. So once we pick up on an alert or a potential indicator of compromise, the SOC team gets on it, investigates it, analyzes it, and then works with the client to put a lid on it, right? Remediate it, isolate it, eliminate the threat. We use sophisticated technology around AI, machine learning. We monitor and analyze user behavior that allows us to threat hunt and allows us to detect unknown threats from unknown actors. Basically, we can detect threats that we don't even know we're looking for by looking for anomalies, looking for suspicious patterns. And we can do that by crunching a huge amount of data from all the devices in your network through our machine learning engines. We have 2,000 plus machine learning algorithms that go through your data. Platform includes a managed EDR, managed SIEM. That's where we coalesce all the information. And so it's a complete solution. We look forward, right? So we want to address critical vulnerabilities before they can get exploited. And then we back up the platform with the $500,000 cyber warranty, which is a great additional level of financial protection, financial security that goes a long way with a lot of school districts. So just to give you a quick idea of where cybersecurity, where Securus 360 is playing, what we see the challenges are with our customers and where we can add value. But with that, ideally, if you want to have a holistic solution, you want to do detection and response, which is what we do, but you also want to do prevention. And that's, of course, what CyberEADY does, right? So that makes our partnership with CyberEADY such a good fit, makes it so effective because they are in a position where through education of your users, they can really prevent or at least reduce the number of threats that enter your environment a great deal. And then we come in and whatever threats inevitably still get through, even with the most educated users, then we come in and we clean up those threats, we detect them and we eliminate them. So it's a two-pronged defense between the two of us. And that's what we're here to do. So we talk about CyberEADY. Demi, take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much, Daniel. So even as I was listening to what you were saying, as I mentioned a little bit before, I did some time in the space of XDR, and I've done some time, face to face with Gartner analysts, working in there, just really trying to understand how they put together their critical capabilities or their magic quadrant, or really start to understand the development of the IT space. And especially when it comes to these K through 12 like districts right now, we're seeing that there is a lot of resource constraints, whether it is lean budgets or lean staffing, especially in the time that we're in now where people are unsure about the economy. It's so easy for us to kind of be like, all right, well, IT is just a cost center, or IT is just that, keep the lights on in the background. And so I'm seeing more so that even more than now, they're expecting us to do much more with less. And so especially when you're looking at it from a defense in depth perspective, it's so important for us to have those layers and us to have these crucial partnerships. And so hello again, everybody. So glad to have you guys over here. And I want to kind of walk you through what we're doing from a CyberEADY perspective to ensure that we are partnering with Securus, but also really, layering yourself with that last down line of defense. And so first, I kind of want to start from that picture of where I was before and where we are now. There are so many vendors in this space when it comes to cybersecurity specifically, but even when we just talk about the security awareness training, I feel like we're in a time of content is king and we're moving towards data is king. And so I've mentioned a lot about my previous experience working for Gartner and having those one-on-one experiences with those analysts. But what I've grasped the most is really that Gartner hype cycle. The hype cycle basically tells the evolution of a technology service. And they'll say, okay, from the beginning of when a technology space starts out to when everyone wants to jump in and gain it to that point that it kind of starts to die out itself. Where should my organization start to adopt that? And when should I start be thinking about that technology? And so I know the big buzzword now is generative AI and how we're really incorporating that. And I think what's really beautiful about CyberEADY is that we are looking directly at how can we do bite-sized content in the culture that we're in right now? How can we make sure that everything that we're applying to is agile? But most importantly, how can we ensure that we are reducing risk within your organization while increasing user engagement? Because we all know that users hate to take cyber awareness training. And so we want to ensure, and I think it's so beautiful that we've seen so many different unbiased resources start to not only move over to our solution, but start to look at our solution as something that is the answer to where we are today. And so quickly, I want to kind of walk through the major question that's in everybody's mind right now. Why are people even coming over to CyberEADY? Where are those defenses in the background that say, oh, yeah, this is the place for you to go? And why are we really that competitive choice in the market? And so as you can kind of see here, some of the largest organizations in the world. And then I also wanted to incorporate some of the education corporations in the world that are also using us. And mainly we're seeing that people are finding what they're doing right now to just be over cumbersome. It's too much to manage. When you think of what we're doing right now in the market, we are looking at a space where people are using TikTok and they're using Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. They're wanting that information to be digested in 90 seconds or less. And so what benefit are we doing from an IT perspective in giving our users in this kind of old school methodology? Either, hey, you're getting once per quarter or you're getting an hour at the beginning of the year. We are definitely seeing, especially from the education perspective, that our teachers don't like it. Our teachers have way too much to do. And so we want to ensure that we are directly attacking that. We want to make sure that we are increasing the engagement of the users that are using it. But we also want to decrease that resentment at the same time, and ensure that over time your users start to grow with our training. And so what we're essentially doing is taking all of this that you're seeing on the left-hand side and starting to bring that into a one-click solution. And so that means, are we training your users? Are we understanding their methodologies and their behaviors? So do you click on emails? Do you enter in your credentials? Do you, report emails that are spam versus reporting emails that are malicious? Can we start to understand by the types of behaviors that they use from phishing, and then the types of behaviors that they use from an educational perspective? Yes, I love BEC compromise. I love CEO fraud, and be able to understand how your users understand correctly, and really grow on their awareness journey, to kind of push them in the right direction. And so I have never been a death by PowerPoint woman in ever. And so the last slide, or the last two slides I'm going to show you, is kind of really about how our platform actually works. And so we have our blast, which is going to be that phishing. We want to make sure we're understanding what's happening within your industry and showing back to your users what they should be looking at, and testing them to make sure that their proficiency levels grow. We want to make sure that we are using that CAB side of it, which is going to be our awareness bites, your users constantly learning, as well as Audit Ready. Audit Ready, I like to look at as a compliance/onboarding tool. And so whether you guys have maybe a code of conduct, a BYOD policy, we want to ensure that your users, especially in the education industry where we have temps that are coming in, that are having direct access to our networks, we have teachers that are moving from other districts, as well as administrators. We want to ensure that they constantly are getting exactly what they need to make them less risky in your environment. And lastly, I told you before that data is king. And so it's super important that we're actually making a visible projection and ROI, especially when we're having to go back and fight for every piece of budget everywhere. And so let's ensure that your high-risk groups inside of your environment, the people that are going to be your sorry Sallys from accounting that are clicking all the time, are decreasing over time. And then in addition, we want to make sure that your users are actually learning something over time. And so you'll see our engagement and our resilience score, which means, are they learning anything, increase over time. And so let me pop into our console so we can look into this. Can you guys see this okay? Yeah, Danielle. Perfect. So I want to start with, let's go for the data. Let's go for, how do we know that your users are learning anything from the very beginning? And so a lot of organizations are going to measure your click rate. They'll say, hey, if your click rate decreases over time, then arguably that must mean that your users are less risky. We say, hey, it comes down to that 1%, and that 1% is filled with your, your CFO or your general counsel. Does that actually mean you're risky? No. And so we want to ensure that not only are we monitoring your click rate for your users, but then we are benchmarking that against your industry, your size, and maybe even your region, based on where you guys are. In addition to that, we want to make sure that we're monitoring the risk in your environment. Are your risk groups learning anything over time, and are they becoming less risky? We break down and slice and dice this data in every way that you could possibly think of, all the way from breaking it down by departments, which I've seen people just be like the math teachers or the science teachers, the English. versus, you know, maybe somebody that is new versus veteran. And so especially when it comes to the education sector, especially in K-12, I see that there's a lot of high turnover. And so especially when you have users that are, you know, maybe new into your system, but maybe not new to the district, we don't really know what their education levels are on being proficient in cybersecurity. And so it's very hard to get accurate results and how risky your environment actually is. And so we try our best to really look at that new versus veteran employee and give you accurate results on where that user is. And then the last question is one question that I do not see any answered anywhere within the industry is, how do we know that your users are learning anything? Seriously, we could give them these trainings, we can force them to take it, we can give them all these phishing emails, but how do we know that they're actually comprehending what they're hearing right now and then applying it when you guys actually have phishing attacks that come in? And that means, how do we measure from the last phishing attack, from the last training that they got, that they are actually learning and progressing through that cycle over time? And so we measure what you call the resilience score, which is the average number of consecutive successes over time as they go through interacting and engaging with our platform. Now, the biggest difference that you guys are going to see is that your users aren't hopping into anywhere to actually take training at all. Everything's going to be delivered directly to their inbox, because why would we have people, you know, move outside if this is their native environment? And so what I'm going to show you guys really quickly is how you guys get started within our system, and then what our system is doing on the back end. So I'm sure that most of you guys already have an Active Directory. We do have an Active Directory integration that syncs with you guys, so you guys can feel free to get that done. After that, we will do some domain testing with you. We just need some whitelisting. We'll give you about 14 domains that you test. Once you're done that, we set you guys automatically up with your industry. And so as we go through your industry, we'll have selected emails that we already think will be a great asset for you guys, and what we've seen other K-12 organizations go through. We will give you context on that. What you go through and do is toggle on and off which ones that you want to use. Let's say you don't like this, you say, hey, this is not a good email for us. We can always just switch that attack out to another one. Once you're satisfied with the attacks that we're going to start with for you, you go ahead and turn on this autopilot and you are done. So I want to put a pause there for a second so you guys know that anything else I show you today is either A, what your users are seeing, or B, what our machine learning and our computer intelligence is doing in the background. So first, I want to show you what some of these emails may look like. Let's say you guys are using a Microsoft environment. Let's just send a password change email. You quickly can see right here. Let's see if they are going to enter in their credentials or not. And then once that happens, this will be indicative of the actual email that they actually clicked on. And here's some quick rules on how you should stay safe and some of the things that you should have looked for. And so let's pop out of here for 2 seconds. You are going to see a multitude of different landing pages depending on what email you click on. It will populate something that's a little bit different. And so I wanted to show you guys a quick another example of what some of our landing pages look like. You quickly have here some rules to stay safe, as well as a 90-second video that your users can watch that will be indicative to the actual email that they clicked on. I want to show you what some of those awareness bites are going to look like. And so the huge key that I was showing you before is that right now we're in that 90 seconds or less type of page. And so users, especially teachers, have so much that are on their minds right now. We need them to be able to look at that research, digest that training immediately, and then be able to react on it. We don't want them spending too much time, or we don't want them going back and saying, hey, IT is giving me too much. So I wanted to quickly give you guys an example of what some of these trainings look like. We're looking at one that's passwords. This will go directly to your users. Everything will be branded and logoed to your organization. And every piece of training will come directly from your own domain. And so, for example, something that's maybe passwords would be choose longer passwords, use phrases, and don't share it with anybody. your users have that option to then go and engage with some of our quiz questions. Let's say your user says yes and they answer the correct answer. This also is branded to your organization, and they have a quick video that goes along with it. None of our videos are ever going to be longer than 90 seconds. We want to ensure that your users are still focused on the things that they see. And addition to that, we want to ensure that each video is specific to a topic. And so we have over 50 topics here, anything you can think about, from cloud security, phishing and social engineering, all the way to the point where you guys can add in your own. And so if there are things that are niche to your environment that you want to add in there for your users, we can make sure that we are fully customizable with you guys. I know I mentioned a little bit earlier that we do have a compliance tool here, as well as onboarding. I'm not sure if you guys have to follow by like FERPA. We've seen a lot of like K-12 organizations use FERPA in here. But quickly, we will show you, hey, users, welcome to the Security Awareness Training Platform. And then they quickly are going to be able to go through and acknowledge. And so let's say you have auditors that you have to answer to. We want to ensure that all of your users are checking the box. But what's beautiful about this is because we're integrating directly with your Active Directory, as you guys get these new temps and these new users, teachers that are coming in, we will ensure that they get exactly what they need. And so we will quickly dissect whatever policy it is, break them into small platform paragraphs. And then when they get to the end, they can acknowledge that and they'll be all good. The last portion that I want to end you guys off in is, I know, especially being in IT in the K-12 industry, it's so hard to generate that ROI support. It's so hard to then go back and say, hey, this is something that we need as a system, no matter how many breaches we go through. They just don't understand. And so quickly, you guys will get weekly, monthly, as well as quarterly reports. But we found that people love our PBR. This, again, is going to be branded to your organization as well as your logo and colors. And we will quickly show you what's going on in your organization, what's happened in the last, what are some of the most vulnerable departments for you guys, plus, what are some of the simulations that people have gotten tripped on the most. And so any type of data that you guys are looking for, we will have here for you. And with that being said, I will pass it over to you, Daniel. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to answer it in the Q&A.
Thank you. Yeah, we do have a few questions.
Yes.
Let's look at this. Actually, why don't you grab sharing back so people can see you? The question is, what makes CyberEADY? Let me read this here. What makes CyberEADY different from what is currently in the market?
Great question. Phenomenal question. That's the loaded question that everyone asks. I would say the budget in which we work with organizations, as well as the time that's spent there. I think hard and soft ROI are extremely important. And being able to take something that should be automatic, should be using immediate corrective behavior, something that should be already utilizing what we're using from mathematical algorithms to understand your users and how they move, should be something that's foundational in our industry. Unfortunately, we've seen other organizations kind of auction it off. Whether it's you pay a little bit more for you to get this, fully features, or, you are having to upgrade different subscription levels to be able to have the machine do the learning for you and be able to give you that direct, tailored content that your users need. And so in addition to just, having the features and functionalities, we've seen a lot of organizations come over to us because of some of that soft ROI, time savings, as well as budget savings.
Thank you. One more question. With generative AI, this is this is another good question. With generative AI being such a buzzword right now, but also a prominent tactic hackers are using, how are you guys leveraging it now to help defend our environment?
That is a loaded question, Daniel. Well, thank you for whoever asked that. That's huge. So just in case anybody is kind of like wondering what we're talking about, so generative AI has been that keynote of basically every major conference this year. It's that idea that hackers are going back, they're watching your LinkedIn, they're watching what events you tailor, they have watch who you are and who you're reporting to, and then they are making phishing attempts even more sophisticated based on that information that they're grabbing. And so we are already doing that. So as your users, we do start with a 90-day baseline so we can understand whether your users are low risk, medium risk, and high risk. And as we go through that, we are going to increasingly get harder emails out to your users to make sure that we're matching what's going on in the industry. We do have a team back in Israel that's constantly watching what is on the dark web and what's going on to ensure that our content is extremely applicable to what's going on in the industry. But as far as generative AI is concerned, we're already doing that with our machine learning. And so we're going to be watching where your users are from, what attendees that are attending different conferences, who are they directly reporting to, and making sure that the emails that we send out are equivalent to those emails that you guys are already receiving, but more importantly, are testing your proficiency level and really getting you to that next level in your awareness journey. Great question, though.
Yeah. No, this is AI is crazy. I mean, we use it, you use it, everyone uses it. The bad guys are using it, so the good guys like us have to use it too. And we did get one more question. How do you customize the training for users of different proficiency levels? And or what do you do for someone who's continuously making mistakes on their quizzes?
Yes. So we do not like sorry Sally's from accounting. Sorry for anybody named Sally here. That's just been something I've used for years.
Or from accounting.
Accounting, my bad. So we already are watching your users and their behaviors and their proficiency levels. And then based on how they're interacting with our console, we automatically are putting them into different sections or different risk groups within our environment. And so maybe something that's a high risk user that clicks all the time, we automatically are going to maybe double the intensity up of the amount of emails, the amount of training that those people are seeing. That way we can kind of reduce their risk in their environment. Our goal is that over time we're going to be able to reduce risk within your environment. But I wanted to be completely clear that we are very individual on our training basis, and that is our attack. We want to see who are the high risk users to your environment, and based on who they are, they will double up their intensity and they will get more training until they become your low risk users. But I think that it also is a great opportunity with us in Securus and being able to work together, because we can then send over that data over to you guys and make sure that we are affecting the risk that's in your environment. That's a great question. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good point, actually, Demi. I'm thinking about that because we could. So we have agents on all of the machines and grabbing all this data and analyzing it, and then we have different playbooks and different rules in place that we might alert on. So if we know which are the high risk users or the less proficient users, we could dial up basically the sensitivity of our monitoring and an alert on some activities, on some events, on some behavior of those clients and of those users that we might not be taking a closer look at with other users. So yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, perfect partnership.
Yeah. No, if there are no more questions, and I know we are over, but luckily it's the bottom of the hour, so hopefully people don't have to run away just now. Let me do. I'll pull up our contact information, So you guys know how to get a hold of us. And I encourage you, if you have any questions about the CyberEARDY platform, feel free to email Demi. I'll pull it up in a second. If you have questions about our stuff, feel free to contact me. But real quick, next on the calendar, the next session is in January 25th of 2024. We're almost in 2024. It's crazy. Topic is San Marino, a case study. So this is a California school district that we've been working with for quite a while, and they've been able to get great results from using our platform. So we'll look at the challenges that district was facing, and then how we were able to help them be more secure. So that's coming up. Look out for emails with the invitations. But here is Demi's contact information, and you'll also, of course, get an email from her to thank you for your attendance and your time. And then you are more than welcome to get in touch with her if you need anything, or you can always contact me as well. You certainly should have my contact information. But yeah, we'll be looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much for everyone's time. I know you guys are busy, so we do appreciate it, and we'll see you again in about 2 months. Demi?
Yes, thank you so much for everyone's time. And if you have any additional questions, you guys know where to find me, Demi at cybeready.com. Thank you so much, Daniel. You're amazing.
Thanks, Demi. Great. Thank you, everyone. And we're out.